Hello everybody, welcome again to the channel. My name is Young Bogarts. Today I want to talk a little about Reatas. The rawhide Reata, let's say it's the traditional, mostly used in California and on the west coast, but it's kind of like the predecessor of the lariat. As a matter of fact, La Reata, as this is called in Spanish, evolved by the Anglos into the lariat or lasso or whatever. Now, there's pretty much two kinds of reatas. You got the braided reata. This is 4 strands braided. And you got the twisted reata. Now, some historians are saying that probably the earliest reatas found in Mexico, used by the vaqueros, that kind of drifted up north into California, were twisted reatas. And there's very few of them left. But they also state that because it was a pretty complicated process to twist the reata, is why the reateros, people that make reatas, went to braided reatas. Now, it is pretty complicated to twist the reata. And what is very important if you do that is that you first pull your string first. Well, it's got to be tempered pretty much perfect. And you pull it through a rounder so the hair side kind of is this on top. If you start twisting it then, you get the hair side on the outside of the twist. But second of all, this is a 3-strand reata. Second of all, what is really important is that all your strings have exactly the same tension when you start twisting. Because if not, strings are going to break. And believe me, they break fast if you don't have the tension on each string exactly right. The other thing that I found when twisting this reata was, if you have your 3 strands twisted up and the rawhide really wants to twist into one rope, don't fight it too much. If it wants to twist, let it twist, but make sure you got a continuous and a smooth twist. One thing. The strings I started off with here, and I never twisted a reata before. We made it with 3 friends, myself, Geert Willard, and Edward de Wit, who made the Cadillac of rope twisters. Everything runs on ball bearings, very smooth. You can operate it with a drill, or you can hand crank it. Really a phenomenal piece of gear, phenomenal tool. But I also asked advice from Bill Black. He gave me a lot of advice. As a matter of fact, he would stand by in the middle of the night. If should I have questions, I could call him. But also Randy Roberts, he provided me with the string. And he also gave me some advice on twisting everything. And so when we got to working, we learned as we went along. And those strings were that I started out with were over 100, like 110 feet in length. And we were lucky that whenever we had a break, it was right at the end of it. So we could start over all the time. And we ended up with this Reata, twisted Reata. And I got the Honda on there, which is made by John Jaco. And he makes a very nice Honda. And at the end, put this little snake braid into it to keep everything together. As soon as I got home, I stretched the Reata out, and then I stretched it around the barrel to make sure it finds its round shape and wants to stay there. So it is a complicated process, and it took a huge learning curve to do that. In the end, after all the breakage, I still ended up with 50 feet of Reata. This is also made from string that I got from Randy Roberts, and this is just a 4-plat. I got small hands. This is a little heavy for me. I make this Honda, and I got this little end of it on it. Some of the old Reata men used to have a little string on their Honda that, in case they had to pull the loop loose, they had something to pull on, which was easy to grab. And that's why I also did it here, and it doesn't get in the way when I'm trying to throw this rope. Now, the braided Reatas are usually a lot more expensive than the twisted Reatas are, if you can find a twisted Reata for sale. Reason being that this one, all in all, it took us about, I think, 3 to 4 hours to twist it, including starting over with, strings breaking and stuff. This one is 80 feet Reata, and pretty much took me 4 days to braid. And you get your strings, and I put them behind my hip, and put my whole weight on it, and at the same time pushing that cross up. It's very, very labor intensive. I know there's a lot of braiders that don't want to make Reatas ever again, because it is so labor intensive, and it's hard on the hands, and it's hard on your hip, and it's hard on the back, and but I really liked it. So another thing in the difference between using a twisted Reata over a braided Reata is that somebody who is an authority on Reata roping, like Pat Puckett, for example, he told me that a twisted Reata will eat the mule hide on your horn. Another thing on Reatas, and probably the biggest difference in Reatas, apart from the difference in life over a poly rope or a nylon rope, is a Reata, regardless of whether it's braided or twisted, it cannot stand a sudden dead pull. So when you're roping with a Reata, you got a little bit of a different feel in your rope, but you got a lot more weight in your rope. So it's easier to throw that big loop farther. And but once you catch your animal, you don't want to bring it to a dead stop. So you dally, and then you let your Reata slip as you slow down your animal. You're more talking in terms of slowing down your animal than it is to stop your animal, like you see, for example, in the ropings today. So with having to allow that Reata to slip on your horn so it doesn't get that pull and it can break. According to Pat, the Braided Reata doesn't eat the mule hide on your horn nearly as fast as the twisted does. And then here I have an old Argentinian Reata, and this is something special, and I don't know why. By the life of me, I don't know why. But as you can see, this would be about, let's say, 4 feet, maybe a little more. It's braided. It's braided Reata. Then it's spliced in here into a twisted Reata. And by the same token, on the end here, it's twisted, then it goes into a 4-plate, and then it goes into the snake braid. This is the easiest way to recognize an Argentinian-made Reata. On the back side, they got this, because they don't have a horn on their saddle, so they don't dally, but what they do is they attach this piece to their cinch ring. And the gauchos use a big steel ring as a hondo. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think the Argentinian Reatas are in any way, shape, or form inferior to any other Reata made in Mexico or in the United States or wherever in the world. I think more Reatas are used in Argentina by the gauchos than anywhere else. And some of them are real fancy ropers with them. As a matter of fact, you could argue that the best Reata makers are probably in Argentina. And if I look at both the braided and the twisted Reatas that I've seen in person made by Pablo Lozano, they are exquisite works of art. Functional art, but still art for all I care. That's about it for me today. If anything else should pop up, we'll visit that in another video. If you got any comments you want to make, you can do that in the comment section. And that leaves me with nothing but to say thank you for watching the videos. If you like what I'm doing and if you like this video, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. And I'll see y'all in the next video.